Hey guys, what is up? Shadolances back for another video. Today I'm going to be doing something that's a follow-up to my lingo video, so I'm going to be putting it in my tactics series. So, since a lot of you asked for that, I am going to include this in my tactics series. I'm going to be going over the mathematics behind the spread recovery, damage drop-off, and recoil pattern versus the recoil stat. I'll be using Microsoft Paint to be demonstrating this, rather. I'm not going to get actual footage this time, considering I'm actually kind of doing this on the spot in a way. I'm also going to be closing down some programs as they come up because I just restarted my computer, so a lot of things are going to try to boot up here. So, first off, we're actually going to start with spread recovery. That's the fastest to start with, so I'm going to go ahead and open up a circular tool here. Let's just go with a black color, and let's set our secondary color as red's good. Anyway, so starting with the black color. So let's say your basic spread looks like that. That's your basic spread. That's what your gun looks like when you're just walking. Now, or actually, let's say that's what it looks like when you sit still. Let's say when you're walking, for some guns, especially like assault rifles or sniper rifles or SMGs to some extent, like an SMG may only increase a little bit. An SMG may increase to like, that's actually horrible. For example, I can move this though, so let's just move this. Like an SMG may increase a tiny amount like that, so that's not a big deal. A sniper, however, will increase by quite a bit. Probably something more like that. Quite a bit. An assault rifle may increase a decent amount, but probably not a whole lot. So maybe something like that. And that's if it increases at all. A lot of shotguns won't really increase. RPGs and laws don't tend to increase, and just all that nice stuff. So when you crouch, it typically gets a little bit smaller. So it may end up looking something a little more like that. Let's say that. So it may look a little more like that. Then let's say you're jumping. So jumping is going to increase your spread to the maximum size almost instantaneously. Very, very fast. Assault rifles may get to be like that big in comparison to their original. Whereas a sniper will literally increase to be literally about that size. If you saw the reticle, that's about how big it would be in comparison to the original. It's that big. That's why they say, and that's at least in Bravo. In Papa, it may be like even bigger than that. Papa, it may still be like that, whereas Bravo, it's probably closer to something like that. It's a big difference, and a lot of people notice that. So I'm going to go ahead and click undo, and redraw my middle circle here. I'm going to draw it a little bit smaller this time, but just keep in mind that's the same circle. It's meant to represent the same thing. I feel a little bit like Sal Khan here, sitting here teaching you guys using paint. I've never done this before, so this is kind of an... Actually, I guess I did it for my Cabin Fever video, to be honest. But anyway, so going over spread recovery. So no matter what weapon you're using, your spread's most likely to change. There aren't too many weapons that the spread won't change. The AA-12 is an example of one that won't. A lot of shotguns actually won't. Some will. The M4 Super 90 will change if you crouch. It'll get quite a bit smaller, to be completely honest. It gets very, very small. But anyway, so let's say your spread increases to this. However you're doing it, whether it's jumping, walking, something. Spread recovery is the time that it takes. Let me get out of line here. Spread recovery is the... Actually, I can probably use... let's just do that. Is the time it takes to go from here back to this when you're at your standing position. Yeah, that's a horrible little arrow there. But anyway, that's the time it takes to go from here to here. Now that time may be half a second, the time may be 1 second. Now, obviously the larger the spread is, theoretically the longer it's going to take to get back. That's what a lot of people would think right off the bat. That's not necessarily true. So for example, let's say that this is a, what's a good weapon that has a very fast spread recovery? The P90. It's got a very fast spread recovery. So let's say that this is a P90. Actually, let's use this as the AK-47 spread, because that was the secondary one I was planning on using. So let's say this is AK-47 spread, and let's say, let me get my circle back out here. Let's say that this is like the P90 spread. It's quite a bit smaller when jumping, so I'm saying this is when jumping, so it's quite a bit bigger. The time it takes to go from this circle to this circle for the AK-47, I should probably change the color of this. Let's just pretend it's that red dot there, that red sign there. Makes it a little bit easier to see. There we go. So the black ones are the actual weapon sizes when you weapon spread sizes when you jump. So that's what that looks like. It's pretty neat. But anyway, let me change colors here, make this look a little more interesting. So let's say the time it takes a P90 to go from here to... Ooh, that's I'm still on the circle tool, aren't I? I'm not Sal Khan. I'm not Sal Khan. I still need to get used to this. So the time it takes up... Jeez, what just happened there? Let's undo this. This needs to be a line. Okay, there we go. So, sorry about that. The time it takes to... My bad. I'm speaking too fast. I'm drinking some Coke. Anyway, so yeah. So let's say the time it takes the P90 to go from here to here is say, it's about a quarter second, right? To go from that back to the original spread. That's about right. Now to go from here to here on an AK-47, that's a solid second to go back to full smallest, well, the smallest recoil you can get. I don't know why I was saying full, but the smallest recoil you can get, let's say it takes about a second to go completely back to normal. A lot of snipers are like that too, but that's going to lead me into my next example. So I am going to quickly select this and delete everything inside of it. Oh, okay, I didn't intend to do that. Let's go white. Undo. Let's go delete. There we go. That's what I intended to do. Cool. So now next I'm going to go ahead and do sniper spread. Now obviously this isn't actually something you can physically see, but you can test it by jumping and shooting your gun, just testing it out. One moment here. Okay, cool. So let me quickly switch over to here and change this color. Yellow's a good one. So let's say this is your basic spread. Typically with a sniper it's going to be bigger. Now let's say when you're jumping for the TPG-1, it's here. Because that's about accurate. I mean, it's not that, it's not hugely bigger, especially when you quick scope. And that's something I'll go over in just a minute. But let's say the TRG is something like, oh, okay, and maybe I shouldn't have done it like that. Start from here. Let's say the TRG is something like that. It's considerably bigger. Now, what we do know, if you guys saw my TPG versus TRG review, is that the time it takes for, oh, where did my line go? There we go. The time it takes for the TPG to go from here to here is actually longer than the time it takes the TRG, nip it, is actually longer than the time it takes the TRG to go from here to here. And this is assuming jumping spread, by the way. So it actually takes, I'd say 3/4 seconds for this to go all the way, and not quite a full second for the TPG-1 Pro to return to its normal recoil. It's normal spread. I keep saying recoil. That's actually a big difference I'm going to go over in just a minute. So that's the difference there. It doesn't larger spread does not necessarily mean faster spread recovery. For example, let's say we have two other weapons. I'm not going to name any weapon names this time. I'm just going to undo some of these arrows that I drew. Let's change color to change topics with this. Cool. So going with the same idea, let's say you have two weapons that recover in the same amount of time. It takes the same amount of time for this weapon to go here, and for this weapon here to go from here to here. Let's say it takes the same amount of time. Now, for those of you who aren't big math buffs, and I don't expect all of you to be, so bear with me if you are big on math. Dang it! Give me white. There we go. I'm a white boy, not a blue boy. Anyway, so let's say the time it takes to go from here to here and here to here are the same. Now, if this spread is twice the radius, or twice the diameter, as you may want to say it, you're going to need to increase the ratio. So the rate is going to be faster on this weapon. The spread recovery rate will be faster, but the overall spread on this weapon is smaller. So in some cases, if you're not fully jumping, or if you're only jumping from one platform to another, where your spread doesn't have the time, I'm going to use a different color now, where your spread doesn't have the full time to oh, dang it. I want this tool. Come on. I want it where it doesn't have the full time to extend to here. It may only say extend to here. That's obviously when you would want to have a faster spread recovery weapon. That's when you may want to have this weapon. But let's say you are jumping full height in something like the TPG, and it only goes to here. Well, you're not going to need the full spread recovery rate because it doesn't go as far. So your shot's going to be more accurate. That's the difference between accuracy and precision. Precision is when you have a single point, and it's how close you can get to that point repeatedly, or how close you can get to a single point. That's basically the best way I can explain it. Whereas accuracy is how close you are to a certain point over a mass amount of data. So let's say you have 10 variables. It's how close those are relative to one another to the single point. Now, obviously, I'm getting into more mathematical terms here, and I was trying to edge into this because I am going to get more mathematical about this, but I just wanted you guys to bear with me for that. I'm also going to increase the size of this now that I really realize, oh, wow, not intended. Let me go ahead and say new, and don't save. There we go, cool. So that basically sums up the whole spread recovery thing. So it's all about rates and overall spread. How large your spread gets. I'm pretty sure most weapons have a very similar increase rate, although it is based on how fast the fire rate is. The fire rate, how fast the gun's recoil actually jumps up, is based on their fire rate. So you may have a very fast fire rate, but a low recoil actual statistic, where the thing is just going to jump up like crazy. So that's a little bit different. And that's some of the hidden mathematics behind what Nexon obviously says. So when you're looking at recoil, for example, the SOP mod, if you increase the recoil even more and you customize that, but the accuracy also goes up, you're gonna have faster recovery due to the higher accuracy stat, but you're going to have greater recoil, so the spread's going to jump up faster, and the spread will get bigger overall. So that's when you want to think about it on a more critical term. Is it necessarily a good idea to increase that? Because I'm also increasing the fire rate. And fire rate and recoil go hand in hand. Each shot will have some amount of recoil that it will jump up. Each shot, like let's say one shot forces your gun to jump up from here to here. Well, if you fire a lot of shots, even though it may come back down gradually to like here, and your next shot would be here, well, it's going to force your gun to come up to here. And then while it may drop back down again a little bit, so that your next shot is here, well, it's going to jump your shot up to the next spot up here, right? And so on and so forth. Until, I mean, there actually is a limit to Nexon will allow the spread to go. So if I use, for example, this, like they won't let it go past X point. So like once you get to this point, you'll just start going back and forth. You'll just start going like back along this scale, and you'll just start going back and forth along this horizontally. There's a limit to how far they actually do that. Even on like an AK or a minigun, there's a limit. So that's just something I wanted to point out. And I'm not going to go into limits here because that's actually a different mathematical thing that I don't think many of you would be too familiar with if you're still playing combat arms. I don't think there's too many calculus BC students and calculus AB students that would particularly be playing combat arms besides me because I'm a complete nerd. But anyway, spread recovery, check. Let's go ahead and mark that off the list. Cool. Damage drop-off. This is going to be way more mathematical to explain. First of all, I'm going to get fancy and draw a graph. Oh my god, a graph. That's a graph. Anyway, so what I am going to say is, let's call this damage. We're going to say that down here is 0. I'm going to go ahead and pull out my number tool. I'm going to call this 100. Okay, not what I wanted. And I'm going to call this down here 0. That's damage. Now this is going to be range. This is going to be the... Okay, let me go ahead and grab this tool again. I'm going to go ahead and say this is the farthest range that a sniper can reach. And, yeah, we'll say that's the farthest range a sniper can reach because they have the max... Outside of RPGs and LAWs, which move on forever, as far as bullets go, the snipers do have the longest range. So I am going to put them here. And this is how much damage you do. So let me go ahead and grab my free draw thing. Where is that? It's over here, I believe. And let me increase my full size there. Cool. So I am also going to go ahead and grab a red color as well. So let's say a 100 damage sniper has... Oh, and we'll say assault rifle range is like here. And SMG range... Like MG range, and actually shotgun range would be like here. MG range wouldn't be that much further. SMG range would be actually kind of closer to the assault rifles if you really think about it. But it's just not quite there. It's almost there. So if you really think about it, this is very crude, so just bear with me here. But anyway, going over the whole thing. So let's say, for example, we take the FRF2. Can't really write like Salcon can, so this is actually a lot more difficult than it looks. Let's take the FRF2. That's a gun that has really bad damage drop-off. So at the maximum range over here, it's going to look something like this. For the first, like, range here, it's going to be about 100. But it's going to drop, and then it's going to drop really, 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 really fast. And, like, it's going to drop something like this. Where your baby, and let's say that's like 50 damage. So you're doing like anywhere between like 45 and 50 damage over here. I know it's not exactly perfect, but close enough. You're doing like between 45 and 50 damage, which isn't particularly good at maximum range. They can usually tank a shot, sometimes even 2 if you hit them in the right spot, like the leg or the arm or something. So that's what I'm talking about. Now, for example, if I back up and I undraw that line and undraw my horrible FRF2 replica, and let's just use this. That's what this is for anyway. Now, for example, the TPG-1 Master, or, for example, the DSR-1 Tactical, or even the, what's another good high-damage gun? Actually, I can't really think of a whole lot more that have higher... Oh, the Andromalius. I can't spell. Andromalius. All these guns here Actually, pretty much any one of the DSR models, to be completely honest. But you guys get the idea. If I go back to home here and I go back to my pencil, make sure the size is correct. All of these guns are going to have something that looks like this. It's going to literally be at 100. I know it's a horrible line. Until it gets to about here. And then it's not even going to drop that much. It's going to go to like there. I'd say that's like maybe 95 damage if I had to write that correctly. So even at maximum range, it's going to be between, I'd say, 92 and 95 damage. That would be incredibly reasonable. You're almost guaranteed that one-shot kill. And as you guys know, the Tango only has a damage of around 95, if not exactly 95, and it still consistently gets one-shot kills. That's why these weapons are popular. It's because the damage drop-off per the stat is actually very low. That's something I wanted to point out. And before I go a whole lot further, there's one other thing I wanted to point out. So that's just a quick way to draw graphs for these kind of guns. Like another really, actually technically bad example of drop-off would be the semi-automatics. A lot of semi-automatics will literally look something like this. They'll go out, and then they will literally decrease exponentially so that they're doing around 30 damage. That's how bad semi-automatics are, and that's why they're incredibly unpopular. The SG556 DMR and the the M110 SAS are very, very unique in the fact that they actually can still maintain about a 70 damage, or 60 damage, sorry, I meant 60, my bad, a 60 damage at maximum range, which is actually quite convenient, which is why a lot of people like those guns, although they are underused because semis are usually banned in a lot of games. Honestly, I think in some instances, as long as you're not in a close range map, it requires more skill to use a semi than it does to use another gun because you have to hit them twice. You hit them once, if you miss your second or third shot, they're going to know where you are, and then if they've got a bolt action, they can one-shot kill you for the most part. So it really just depends on your ethics. But anyway, getting away from that and back to the map, that's what you all came here for, right? Wink, wink. Go ahead and select this. Ah, God! Okay, I'm just going to do a new one here then. Oh, shoot! No, I don't want to save that. New? Don't save. Cool. Was there anything else I wanted to go over with that? I don't think so. I think that pretty much covered damage drop-off. I felt like there was something else I wanted to talk about, but I can't remember it right now. If I remember it later, I'll go over it. But anyway, recoil pattern versus recoil stat. This is weird. For example, the Magpul and the CZ Scorpion are a good way to put this. If you guys saw my review on that, you can go see it for yourself. Sorry, not review, comparison video. If you guys want to go watch that, you can see this firsthand. So, for example, give me my free draw. Where's my free draw? Pencil. And let's also grab a secondary color. Let's use orange this time. Get some variety in here. So actually first I'm going to go ahead and label the names down below here. I'm going to go CZ Scorp. And I'm going to label another one Magpul. There we go. And let's grab our free draw here. So the CZ Scorpion literally has a recoil pattern that looks something like this. It literally goes back and forth, getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger until it's at its highest point. And the shots will literally be like bam, 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 bam. I mean, like, I know this is a horrible way to put it. The shots will literally keep spreading out, and they will just, like, cover this whole general area like this. Like this. It looks like a tornado. Like, honestly, it looks kind of like, woo, it's a tornado, woo. That's actually kind of what it looks like, because the shots will actually kind of go up and down as they go up, so that's just the way it kind of works. But if you tap fire, like, the bullets will typically stay in this whole area right here, so that's why it's more efficient to do that, so I'm going to undo those two. There, so you guys can sort of see that. Whereas the Magpul, and actually I do believe the T2 as well, although I'm not sure about that. I haven't used the T2 in over a year. I just seem to remember it this way for some reason. The Magpul has a tendency to go up and just barely out a little bit, something more like that, and then it will literally just go back and forth like that in a T shape. So basically, the strategy for the CZ Scorp would just be to spray in the general direction, and literally if you if the chest area is right here and you aim low, like if the person is like, quote, this big and you aim here, chances are one of these, like the head area is usually like right here, one of these shots is going to get a headshot. That's why the CZ Scorpion is so popular. That's why the recoil pattern allows for more headshots. The P90 is very, very similar. It has a very similar recoil pattern. It tends to go less up and down and more side and side. So the P90 TR may look something more like this, and it may only go up like halfway on that scale, but it'll get big real fast. So that's like the P90, and that's why it's really, really popular. So this looks more like a mushroom cloud. If I had to draw this properly like that, it would look something like this, and then it's encaged in this area. So if you can literally pull down, the reason I'm good with the Magpul is because I know to pull down the second I start firing, so that this, if I'm aiming at the person, like let's say I want to hit the person in the chest, I'm going to aim like I'm going to put this spot, like, right at his feet. And literally it will pull up and do it on its own, or if I aim at the chest, I'm going to pull my mouse down, like I said earlier, and then this will all hit him in the, like, in the chest area. Now, if you know exactly where to aim, if you actually aim for his nuts, or that area, his groin area, this is going to spray his head, which is right here, and the chances you're going to get a headshot are very high. Now, you don't even need to particularly aim this well, because if you look at this, this covers a huge area. This whole area here is huge. So if you get that line anywhere along his head, with the fire rate that the Magpul has, it's something like 90 or 89 or something like that, chances that you're going to get a headshot are incredibly high. That's why these kind of guns are super popular. The P90 is popular because the recoil doesn't go up so much and goes more side to side. So if the head is like right here and you aim here, if you aim at the body, chances are it's going to go up, and one of these, this huge area here, is going to get a headshot. That's why these guns are headshot machines in comparison to other guns like the M249 Para. I think that's what it's called. It's a horrible SMG, but the reason it's horrible is because the recoil literally goes in circles. Like, it literally just sits there spraying in circles. So if you aim at a person and you're expecting an SMG to have, like, upward recoil to get a headshot, well, you're not going to get it. And on top of the fact that the spread is, like, freaking huge, it doesn't help anything. So that's why no one really likes that. Now, the stat doesn't really mean a whole lot. The stat lies a lot, to be honest. A gun that has a 70 recoil pattern, or 70 recoil, may have a pattern like, this. But on another gun that may have like, a 65, I'm kind of leaning towards SMGs and assault rifles here if you guys can't tell, it may have a recoil pattern like this. But the reason that is you have to look at the rate of fire. Let's say both of these guns have a rate of fire of 80. That's a good way to start. Have a rate of fire of 80. That means for every shot, this thing's going to go bam. Oh, shoot, I'm going to need my other color here. Let's get yellow, it's bright. It'll go like bam, 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 bam. For every shot, it will go to the next bullet. It will, like, the next one of these dots, and it'll go up slowly. But whereas, if you have this recoil pattern is more focused. Let me get orange here, actually. This is working a little bit better. This recoil pattern is more left and right. This one is more based around up and down. So although this one may have a smaller recoil pattern, that energy, well, if you want to go physics anyway, that energy is more directed upwards. So unless you control it and pull down like the CZ Scorpion, and the Magpul for that matter, your shots are going to be more inclined to do this rather than something more like this. If that makes sense, you can have smaller recoil pattern. You can have better recoil patterns versus, I don't know, this. You guys get the idea. So like a G36C Valkyrie, you'll often hear me say, oh, it has a V-shaped pattern. That's because the bullets typically will go like boom, and then after a while, they won't like rotate over to this. That's a bad thing. That doesn't actually happen. What happens is the gun will literally start jumping in another direction, and then it'll jump back in the other direction if you have an extended magazine on. Usually it won't get past this point if you don't have an extended magazine. But if you have an extended magazine too and you fully spray it, it will go in one direction for like a short ways, then go in another direction for a little longer, and then back in the other direction for longer, and then you can usually get 2 to 3 bullets out if you have a 45 shot thing, or if you have the Autumn Valkyrie, a 50 shot thing, and it can usually get 2 to 3 bullets into this category up here. Now obviously that's not a good thing, and because the recoil pattern is so, you know, linear, this is a very linear pattern compared to this, which just kind of like goes all over the place, or this, which just goes all over the place upwards. This is more linear. It just goes like boom, boom. It'll literally go like boom, 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 boom. And you guys get the idea. It will go in a linear pattern. So controlling it is super easy. That's why tap firing with the G36 series is just in general super easy to do. That's why it's popular. And that's actually, I know I'm talking positively here, but I'm actually kind of out of time here, guys. It looks like that actually wraps up all of my topics. That's just some mathematics behind combat arms. If you guys would like to know any of the math behind these kind of things, the physics that go behind the game, I do a lot of work with indie games and game design. I work with a lot of these kind of things, graphics, drawing this stuff, working with this stuff. I write plugins for Minecraft sometimes. Keep that very key word there being sometimes. I don't do that a lot, so don't request anything on that scale. But if you guys want to learn more about this kind of stuff, this is what I'm here for. I can do the math behind this. I don't mind being your calculator for a while. If you just want me to let you know privately, then just PM me, or if you want me to actually make a video out of it and post it in the comments section of this video. If there's any other mathematics you are curious about, say splash damage or something, I think I explained that pretty well in my Autumn Law review if you want to go back and watch that. But like, for example, that's just an example. If you guys want to see some of these videos, just let me know. And I would be happy to do most of these. There's not many I probably wouldn't be able to do, so Thank you for watching. Please rate, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. Shadowlance out.